It's a repeat of last year's final and a fiercely contested South African derby. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Stormers versus the Bulls is at DHL Newlands in Cape Town. It's on Saturday the 6th of May. Kickoff is 2:30 BST. We will start with the home team, the Stormers. So in the backs, they got Willemse, Davids, Nel, Duplessis, Zas, Lebok, and Jantjies. Forwards, Kitsoff, Dweba, Malherbe, Van Herden, Ori, Fourie, Daimani, and Roos. On the bench, Kotze, Vermaak, Fuchs, Porter, Dixon, Engelbrecht, De Wet, and Feinberg, Ngomazulu. The Bulls team then backs Aronson, Moody, Gans, Worcester, Creel, Goosen, and Papier. The forwards, Steenkamp, Grobler, Smith, Vermaak, Norkia, Van Staden, Brink, and Lowe. Replacements, Duplessis, Matazima, Klopper, Swanepoel, Carr, Johannes, Smith, and Mapoy. Okay, so team news. Stormers, they've made 6 changes from the team that beat Benetton in round 16. Ruan Nel is in at 13. Zas is onto the left wing. Jantjies in at 9. Willemse switches to fullback and Duplessis to 12. Dweba and Malherbe start in the front row. Then we have Kotze, Fuchs, De Wet, and Engelbrecht all dropping to the bench. Porter and Feinberg and Ngomazulu coming onto the bench. For the Bulls, no change in the starting 15, exactly the same as the team that beat Leinster. Carr and Mapoy come onto the bench, so very settled for them. You can see, though, that Stormers, a lot of changes for them. Head-to-heads then this season, they played in round 14. It was Bulls 19, Stormers 23. Halftime score was 12-13 in favour of the Stormers. It was still a 1-point game with 10 minutes to go. Lebok then got a drop goal about 8 minutes to go or something, which gave the Stormers a bit of breathing room, and Bulls couldn't get that, try to win it at the death. In terms of then stats for this season, Stormers finished 3rd to the Bulls 6th on attack. The Stormers scored 531 points, Bulls 613, which was the most in the entire URC, even topping Leinster. Tries scored 69 for the Stormers, 78 for the Bulls. Couldn't quite top Leinster in that one, though. They finished, I think, 2nd overall. Offloads then, 201 for the Stormers, 182 for the Bulls. So certainly watch out for the Stormers looking for those offloads as they go into contact. Meters gained, 6,491 for the Stormers, 7,405 for the Bulls. Defenders beaten, 299 to 292. Clean breaks, 124 for the Stormers and 138 for the Bulls. So the Bulls, at the start of the season, in those last 2 rounds as well, they played some really good rugby where forwards would suck in the opposition and then, they would use their backs or other forwards to go through holes. But they did have that period where they went on a very bad run where they were kind of playing a lot of 10-man rugby. The ball carrier was looking to run into contact rather than looking for soft shoulders and not really looking to, offload or to involve the backs at all. So hopefully they don't revert to that when it gets tough against the Stormers, because I think if they do that, they're probably going to lose. If they can, play that game where, their forwards and backs are combining well, they certainly have a chance in the game. Tries per break, Stormers with 0.55 and Bulls 0.57. Neither is very impressive compared to, I think, is it like Leinster and Connacht are kind of towards the top with 0.7 something. So, that both teams kind of have like almost a 50-50 chance when they make a break and get in behind whether it's going to be a try or not. Defence then, points conceded 391 for the Stormers, 448 for the Bulls. Tries conceded 48 to 52. Tackles made 2,599 for the Stormers, 2,083 for the Bulls. So you see the Bulls conceding more points, but not having to make as many tackles, and that's because they kind of like to hold on to the ball, and they did a lot of that going through the forwards with kind of short carries and stuff like that. Tackle success 88% to 87. It's just a 1% margin, so it's going to be fairly close on the fence there. Tackles missed 310 to 269, so fairly comparative given the number of tackles both have made. Turnovers lost 238 for the Stormers and 234 for the Bulls, so expect the breakdown to be fairly competitive between these two. Kicking then, total kicks a goal, 103 for the Stormers, 110 for the Bulls. 25 from penalties scored for Stormers, 31 for the Bulls. Conversions then, 53 for Stormers, 64 for the Bulls. So, would expect that the Bulls especially are going to rely on the kicking from the tee to keep them in touch. Drop goals then, 1 for the Stormers, 0 for the Bulls, and that one was in that game where they beat the Bulls back in round 14, where it gave them that breathing room and ultimately led to the win. Kicks from hand then, 371 for Stormers, 392 for the Bulls. Kicks retained, 91 for the Stormers and 82 for the Bulls. So Stormers, you can see from that they prefer contestable kicks more so than the Bulls. Bulls, a lot of times you see them trying to kick long into space, but they will contest as well, just not as much as the Stormers. Kick meters then, 10,684 for the Stormers and 10,727 for the Bulls. So fairly even on that score. Into then discipline, 12 yellow cards for the Stormers, 14 for the Bulls, 1 red card each. This game I think is going to be fairly close, and a card either way could actually prove to be the difference, or at least how teams handle card periods. The penalties then, 172 for the Stormers, 203 for the Bulls. Stormers going to look to keep that up and kind of get the right side on the penalty count and maybe use that to get into Bulls territory. Scrum offences, 32 from the Stormers, 39 from the Bulls. Line-out offences, 4 for the Stormers, 9 for the Bulls. So Stormers fairly clean in their line-out. Line-outs won then, 232 to 226. Line-outs lost, 41 to 30. Line-out percent, 85 for the Stormers, 88 for the Bulls. Line-out steals, 16 to 20. So going to expect the Bulls to be competing against a Stormers lineup, maybe see an opportunity there to nick 1 or 2 from them. Scrums then, 91-1 from the Stormers, 82 from the Bulls. Stormers scrummaging at 93% and the Bulls at 90%. Scrum penalties won 33-31. So both teams like to keep the ball in when they're on top and go for those penalties if at all possible, expecting that to be one of the many areas that are going to be very competitive between these two teams. In terms of the camps then, what have they been saying? So John Dobson from the Stormers said, it's great to have Fourie and Zas back in the mix, and he's proud of what they've achieved already this season, Heineken Cup playoffs and retained the South African Shield, and they also capped a lot of players this season as well. He wants to play the style of rugby that got them to this point and repay their fans with a win. For the Bulls, Marcel Kotze has been talking. He said, he was looking forward to being in the mix, but the competition rules prevent him from playing after returning from a stint in Japan. He said there's a great spirit in the team and they're really up for this one. Will be like test match rugby, and it's going to be a great spectacle. Both teams are hungry, so the occasion will be massive, especially with it being Kitsov's last game for the Stormers. And his advice to the Bulls players was to focus on what they've prepped for and that they need to execute, be fearless and be ruthless. In terms of my opinion on this one, so Stormers, the defending champions, they're at home and they're not going to want to give up that crown easily. they're going to be, I think, most people's favourites to win. The Bulls, I think, are going to be hurting after last year's final, and it may just give them an edge in this one. I think, as I said, the smart money is going to be on the Stormers, but I've been inkling that the Bulls might pull this off, and I'm going to tip them to cause an upset.